Why are fixed return rates going to go down, and what can you do about it? So in this video, I'm going to talk about if you want a fixed return on your savings, why those fixed returns will probably go down, and what you can do about it now. And before doing that, go over to adamfire.com, especially if you're an expat or a high net worth individual, and see how I can help you. Now, interest rates have pretty much peaked now all around the world, and one or two central banks have already decreased interest rates. Now it's a question about how many interest rates are we going to have in terms of how many falls are we going to have in the next year. Is it going to be 3? Is it going to be 7? What are we going to see? But interest rates are going to go down. That means money market funds and bank account rates are going to go down. But it also means the fixed rates on things like bonds are going to go down, because basically what happens with government and corporate bonds is when interest rates are going down, the funds do pretty well. When interest rates go up, the funds do badly. So for example, in 2022, when interest rates were increased, what happened is that government bonds and corporate bonds fell, but the rates on offer are higher or became higher. And even today, if you look at any government bond funds or any fixed return interests, the capital values have not fully recovered, and the rates on offer are very good, typically 4 or 5% in many cases, and you've got upside potential. So basically, what can you do if you want to have decent fixed returns? Well, first of all, you can lock in rates now. Second of all, when it comes to government bonds and corporate bonds, ultimately, when interest rates go down, almost for sure those funds will go up. So basically, if you buy in now, it's probably a better time than in the future. It's not going to be a one-way bet, but if you look at some of the bond funds out there, they're still very cheap, not compared to 3 months ago, but compared to 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago, and so on and so forth. So those are the basic things you can do. I think fixed returns have a lot of opportunities now that they haven't for a long time. One thing I would say as well is ultimately, if you compare the expected rate of return on something which is relatively safe, like a government bond fund, and compare it to, say, cash in the bank, the expected returns are going to be much higher in those government bond funds. So for example, long-term treasuries, investments like that, they're paying a fixed return often of 4 or 5%, plus they have capital appreciation potential. So you could be looking at a projected return of 8 to 10%. Obviously, it's not guaranteed. It could be more, could be less, but basically in the next 3, 4, 5 years, you're looking at a significant upside potential for government bonds, higher than they've typically paid, and the rate of risk is not super high. So obviously it depends on your situation. If you're older, you should look at having more fixed return. If you're younger, you should have more money in the markets. So it does depend on your individual situation, but taking those steps is more likely to lead to you locking in those rates of return and also fixed return. And me and my team as well, we can often help lock in rates of return for you when it comes to interest rates offered by some of the banking companies or indeed money market funds. We can often look at the best rates in the market and also look at locking in rates for you, because ultimately the rates on offer at the moment are not going to be around forever.
Depends on every person's individual goals, how much money they want to invest, how long they want to invest. And I did not have at all the feeling from any bank with which I had contact with that they were interested in these things. Whereas with you, it was from the very beginning obvious to me that you had experience in these matters and also were interested in what I wanted to achieve.
Anyways, I'm very, very pleased and positive to say that I believe I've picked the right one. The results in the last couple of years have overreached my expectations by far. And I see no reason why it should not continue. Of course, I can highly recommend him as your financial advisor for now and for the future, because hesitating is missing out.
So I'm investing a lot in the Middle East market, but the amount of returns I'm getting from there is very low as per the amount of returns I'm getting from the investment portfolio which you made for me. Obviously, the best result in market right now is Adam.